I'm joined now by Ukraine's Foreign Minister, Pavlo Klimkin. He joins us in our London studio. Mr. Minister, thank you very much for coming on the show. Does Ukraine feel abandoned by the IMF when you see statements like that being made?
No, not at all.
Why?
It's actually the message, and the very important message, because we created the infrastructure, the institutional infrastructure for tackling corruption last year. Ukraine was an endemically corrupt country under Yanukovych. But now we have the decisive year to deliver on tackling corruption.
But then again, your economy minister just recently resigned, citing the president himself, saying that the president had been blocking those very anti-corruption efforts.
No. He was not talking about the president. He was talking about some people, close to business circle, about blocking some decisions. And I know I was for years, actually.
Let me be honest, from an international perspective, it doesn't look good if your country's own economy minister is resigning, saying that efforts to stamp out corruption are being thwarted in a country when the economy's already down 12% and you need that money from the IMF. You've already defaulted on loans to Russia.
Definitely, but the economy is down to 12% because of the Russian aggression, not because of economic performance. But what we need is definitely all the ministers and the whole cabinet who could be fully trusted by Ukrainian people.
How confident are you you'll be able to get that?
I'm quite confident, because it's the only way for Ukraine. It is the only way for keeping the political and economic stability inside Ukraine.
Do you think that you're going to be getting that money from the IMF if they don't see that corruption efforts stick to closely enough?
I'm absolutely confident we will be able to get this money, but we need to deliver on literally all IMF benchmarks, the benchmarks in our IMF program. And it's mainly about tackling corruption. Now the institutional performance is there. What we need is an effective clampdown on corruption exactly this year.
Ukraine is not the focus of the West's discussions with Russia these days. The focus of the West's discussions these days with Russia is Syria. Does Ukraine feel like it's on the back burner in terms of issues? Is this coming up for you as a foreign minister of a country that is still in a very difficult predicament these days?
No, I would not say so, because the solidarity and the unity by G7 and by the European Union is there, and in the only way to get Russia to the mainstream of Minsk, to get Russia to implement Minsk fully. But what is going on now around Aleppo is actually the same pattern how the Russians did it exactly 1 year ago on a small Ukrainian city of Debaltseve, when we negotiated Minsk. So in this sense, the pattern of Russian behavior is absolutely similar.
I'm glad you mentioned Minsk, because it is almost exactly 1 year to the day since the last incarnation of the Minsk agreement was tabled. And those accords haven't yet been met, the conditions haven't yet been met, and yet at the same time in Davos 2 or 3 weeks ago we had John Kerry standing on the stage touting a potential rapprochement between Russia and the United States, despite the fact that Minsk hadn't been completely adhered to. Where does Ukraine stand on warming relations between the United States and Russia, the end of sanctions, if Minsk hasn't been implemented?
Look, what we have now on Minsk is continuous shelling, no access for the OSCE, and now the joint exercise by the Russians, by the Russian forces and mercenaries in Donetsk and Lugansk. But I talked to John Kerry also in Davos, and his emphasis was on delivering on Minsk, but not on the time frame where the sanctions could be eased up or lifted. The sanctions is an instrument, it's not a strategy. As soon as Minsk fully implemented, it will be about contemplating the point about sanctions. But now we have to be fully focused on Minsk. And Russia actually has not delivered on anything. Ceasefire, access for the OSCE, free and fair elections in Donbass, it's actually close to nothing.
Pavlo Klimkin, thank you very much for joining us there, Ukraine's Foreign Minister. Great to have your points of view on the show today.
It was a pleasure.